Subscriptions are becoming a more encompassing part of gaming every year. From humble beginnings as a fee required to access MMOs, to expansive all-encompassing services that offer a variety of titles for a monthly fee. The beginnings of subscriptions can be traced back to the 90s. One of the first games to offer a subscription was Ultima Online. The subscription method offered the game a means to pay for servers that would host the game, and continual updates of new content for the players. It's a win-win for all parties involved. As gaming would grow, a lot of MMOs would shift away from subscriptions, and move towards free-to-play with microtransactions. When you get a game that is addicting and fun to play like World of Warcraft, you create a type of user that is referred to as a whale. A player who spends a lot of money on the game, as the subscription and the various microtransactions become a necessity. Microsoft is the gaming giant that paved the way for subscriptions as we know them today. Microsoft as a company has pushed the importance of connectivity in gaming since the launch of the Xbox brand. The original Xbox had an Ethernet port, which was not the standard at the time, because dial-up internet was predominant. In 2002, Xbox Live would launch, with a $50 yearly fee that would allow the player to access online services for various titles. This set a precedent that would eventually be followed for years to come. In 2013, with the launch of the PS4, Sony would require PlayStation Plus to play online. In 2018, Nintendo would follow suit with the launch of Nintendo Switch Online. 2017 sees the launch of Xbox Game Pass. The 23rd of January 2018 sees Game Pass promise day one launches. This is one of the biggest bets a gaming company has ever made, after the mixed messages around the marketing of the Xbox One that effectively made the brand radioactive in the mind of consumers. It was a necessary move driven by a brand that needed to take some big swings and justify their existence. So, what's one of the biggest ways a company can shift the market around gaming? Lowering the barrier to entry.
It's not about money, it's about sending a message.
The first part of this strategy was offering new titles for a low palatable price that can entice people to purchase the service. If you want to play the new Halo, do you want to spend $60 and own it? Or $10 for the month you'll play it, and then you can save $50. The big end goal for any subscription is to make the user apathetic to its existence and forget about it, because then the company is making revenue off a user, even if they aren't necessarily releasing new products onto the service at a reasonable pace. It becomes a recurring revenue stream that can be relied upon 52 weeks, 365 days a year. The second part of this plan is to add more content to the service. To this end, Microsoft went out and purchased a number of studios like Obsidian and Ninja Theory, as well as two major publishers such as Bethesda and Activision, bulking up the number of titles that will be on the service and can be added day one. 2024 sees the first title from the Activision Blizzard library to be added day one, in the form of Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Putting one of the biggest games of 2024 on your service day one is a big move. Call of Duty is one of the biggest franchises in gaming, and now one of the biggest drivers of Game Pass subscriptions, as per Microsoft's October 2024 earnings call. I've said in the past when discussing subscriptions that I don't believe the Game Pass model works in its current form at its scale, purely because of the budgets of games and the opportunity cost associated with releasing a game straight to subscription. Black Ops 6 has defied this expectation, because it has seen strong sales, while having been on Xbox Game Pass since day one. The subscription model has not eroded at its ability to sell through to players, meaning that it has had its cake and eaten it too. There's also the other end of the spectrum, where as per the Insomniac leaks, we know that Horizon Forbidden West was added to PS Plus, as a litmus test to see how it would affect sales, with the outcome cannibalizing sales, causing it to miss sales expectations. During its second year on the market, service and multiplayer games in particular can thrive in subscription services. Outside of the free-to-play model, this is one of the best ways to maintain long-term success. Because when a person and their friends are looking for something new to play and they've already got access to a large library from a subscription, it gives the group the ability to experiment a bit, and try out some games they may not have necessarily looked at otherwise. The third stage of this master plan is to expand the platforms that the service is available on. We've seen this in the form of Game Pass coming to PC, and the streaming service that the Xbox brand has cultivated, which has made titles available on essentially any device with an internet connection, such as TVs and phones. Expanding out to other platforms is one of the best moves a subscription service can make. In the years following the emergence of Xbox Game Pass, we have seen a number of competitors enter the market with their own takes on how a subscription service should function, using some of the core ideas in different ways. Nintendo Switch Online is my personal favorite because it offers access to a massive backlog of classic titles. It will occasionally have a new experience added as part of the subscription, but that and the online functionality are just the icing on the cake. It's also the cheapest one, which makes it a palatable purchase that I don't even have to think about too much. PlayStation Plus is very similar to Switch Online in regards to how it handles its accompanying game library. PS Plus puts its focus on both semi-recent and legacy games, with its biggest issues being its price, which feels overpriced and a much harder sell. EA Play does something a little bit interesting. They've got their back catalogue and then allow users to try out newer games for up to 10 hours for a limited time. I feel this is a nice middle ground between both PS Plus and Game Pass. It lets people get a taste of the game before fully committing to a purchase. Ubisoft would launch Uplay Plus in 2019, which would eventually rebrand as Ubisoft Plus in 2020. The stance Ubisoft have taken with their subscription model is similar to Game Pass. There's two tiers, with the premium tier giving access to day one launches. For instance, Star Wars Outlaws was on their day one. On January 15th, 2024, Philip Trimbley, the director of subscriptions for Ubisoft, would state, "One of the things we saw is that gamers are used to, a little bit like DVD, having and owning their games. That's the consumer shift that needs to happen. They got comfortable not owning their CD collection or DVD collection. That's a transformation that has been a bit slower to happen in games. As gamers grow comfortable in that aspect, you don't lose your progress. If you resume your game at another time, your progress file is still there. That's not been deleted. You don't lose what you've built in the game or your engagement with the game. It's about feeling comfortable with not owning your game." The idea of game ownership has been a part of the hobby for decades. I'm a firm believer in providing options to the consumer, but that's how they should remain as long as financially viable. Options. People should be given choices because it leads to a more competitive environment. The physical copy selling for 20% off after 2 months forces the market to react accordingly, and other platforms to adjust prices to remain competitive. Even if I myself am mostly digital, that doesn't mean the option shouldn't be there for someone who loves physical. Half of this statement is just frankly outdated, and acts like we are still in the age of progress being tied to a specific cartridge. Gamers don't lose progress when they sell their games now, because save files are digitally stored and on your machine of choice. The subscription service model can work, but it just has to be done at a big enough scale for it to be viable and generate profit, while providing day and date releases. Subscriptions are only going to become a more important aspect of gaming as years progress. Getting them into as many places and making it as accessible as possible is the key to their success in this ever-shifting marketplace. If you've enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe for more gaming news and analysis. Let me know in the comments if there are any topics you would like me to cover.